guys, we have the chassis inside the shop. We've used some air to blow all the dirt out. We power washed it. Now it's inside for disassembly. We thought it would be really cool to walk you around the chassis one last time before it's disassembled, show you some of the factory features and some of the things that Mr. Peer did that were custom for him. Let's start up front. At the very front, we have these extended frame rails on the front. This is where he had a big chrome bumper attached that he used like as a push bar around the junkyard. That's kind of cool. He did cut the front cross member out. That's made it really flimsy and flexible, but he did it because he had a big Studebaker motor. We're going to put a front cross member back in, unique to the engine we choose. He did have Studebaker motor mounts, not factory, and the remnants of the battery tray are still sitting right here in the engine compartment area. We're probably going to relocate the battery to the rear, so that may go away in our modifications. Moving on down the line here, you'll see the clutch and brake pedal rods. Something kind of neat for some folks I may not know. The master cylinder is actually down on the chassis on the Willys Jeep, not on the firewall. A lot of street rods use that even to this day. Kind of cool. We'll put a new one of those in. And then while we're in this area by the master cylinder, you'll see that it is like a C-channel chassis. When we had the wheels and tires on it, we could literally flex the whole chassis back and forth. Probably because the front cross member is missing, and also it was just really, really thin by design. So we're going to box all of that in because we're going to put a torquier engine in the engine compartment, and we don't want that chassis to bend on us. Coolest factory feature is this kind of circle looking thing on the chassis. I originally thought it was something Mr. Peer welded on as part of the boom for his tow truck. Turns out it is a gun turret base. The World War II Jeep sometimes had a 50mm gun mounted in the back. Every one of them got that plate. Super cool. Then if you go to the very, very back, you'll see we have a coil over the shock in the rear. That is not factory. Mr. Peer, I guess, added that because of the weight of towing vehicles in and out of the junkyard. And lastly, you'll see this little V right here has a missing spot right here. I researched and found out this is where the tow hook would be on the very back of the Jeep. He cut that out because a cable ran right in that spot. And then his famous feature, the all-thread cross member. He had one of these in the front as well that we cut out when we put the motor out. That is still there. It's going to go away in the modifications as well. So that is a walk around of the chassis. Now for the rest of the episode, we're going to take everything off of it. right guys, so believe it or not, everything has been removed from the chassis. Took a little longer than I thought it would. Lots of little bits and pieces, brake master cylinder, brake lines, a lot of attachments, clutch and brake pedal, motor mounts that were for the Studebaker motor. Lots of stuff had to come off, but it's all off of there now. Next, it's off to the sandblaster. So we're using a local company here to do that. Thought about doing it myself, but you know what? By the time you buy the equipment, make the mess that it makes, I'm just gonna farm that out. So we're gonna haul it to the sandblasters, and the next time you see it, it'll be all sandblasted. We'll prime it, paint it, and then we'll start trying to figure out what kind of repairs need to be made. Motor mounts need to be added, cross members have to be added back to the front. We'll work on the chassis once it comes back from the blaster. So let's see how that turns out. All right guys, we finally got the chassis back from sandblasting, and we knew we were gonna find a lot of opportunities, and we were right. First of all, when you come in here, and you'll see that we've put some primer on it because it rusts really quick when it's in bare metal. Matter of fact, we've got rust popping back up through the primer already, so we'll have to cover that again. But as we got to looking at it, some things we were surprised by, some we were not. We knew the front end of this chassis was heavily modified by Mr. Peer because he had a much heavier engine in it, and it is really some rough welding, you might say. So we're going to clean all of that up, get that straightened out real good. And then as you go back, we mentioned before, we're going to box in the chassis, strengthen it because of the more power we're providing. But we also have cracks in the chassis. There's a couple of places where it's literally cracking, and you don't really know that until you get all the rust and old paint out of the way. That's why you sandblast. So that's all been done. It's protected for now. The next episode will be a field trip. We're going to take the chassis to a good buddy of mine. We're going to get all of these welds figured out, do the box in we mentioned. So stay tuned to John's Garage, and you'll see how that all turns out.